Hi everyone. I would like to share with you my my book that is actually finally in paperback. I just received a number of copies that I ordered from the States, from the United States. I'm here in Canada, and here it is. Facing grief with eyes wide open. I'm really grateful. I'm really excited, and there's joy in my heart because of this book. Because this book represents both the the most devastating, the most pain that I ever experienced in my life, and at the same time, it also contains my experience coming out of that pain, emerging out of that pain through an incredible major transformation that I went through about 8 years ago. And as I emerged out of that pain, I became more and more connected. So what emerged was more and more my true self, and so it is a very incredible experience that I talk about in this book of incredible deep transformation, of rebirth, of death, rebirth, literally and metaphorically, and also the emergence, what is possible when we allow whatever it is that is happening in our life, we allow it to really transform us. We're allowing it to break us open, because after the breaking open, if we're staying with the process, if we go deeper, there is inevitably a rebirth, and that's what I experienced. And I talk about this in this book. Um, and together with my own personal experience, I also talk about my professional the professional work that I've been doing for the last 25 years, and more specifically in the last 7 years, being a feminine power coach, a transformative therapist, a relationship coach, and all kinds of stuff. So, and having said that, I about 8 years ago, I went through the most traumatic experience of my life. I lost my son. I lost my most beloved, my baby, my child. He wasn't a baby, he was 24 years old, and it was the most devastating thing. And I really did not think. I mean, I had already been doing a lot of, working on myself, evolving myself spiritually, for many, many, many years. I was already a therapist, so but I was not prepared. I was not prepared for what life had in store for me through this experience. So what happened, the first thing that happened is that I surrendered all of myself, everything that I had known, everything that I'd been up to that moment, because without consciously, realizing it, but instinctively, intuitively, my own inner guidance was guiding me to surrender, because I realized that that was the only way I can navigate that process. And I navigated about 3 to 4 years of intense grief, and I navigated consciously. And as I was going through the process, a part of myself was aware that what I was experiencing, what I was doing with myself, was very unique, and that somehow I needed. It's almost as if I had this responsibility to share one day when I was ready with the world what I did, because somehow I intuited that what I did could be of inspiration, of support, of help for other people. And now you read the book. You read the book to find out the details and the process and all stuff that I went through. But basically, what I did is that I surrendered. I became the one. I was grieving, and after the second, first second month, I was by myself, because all my friends, of family, I don't really have immediate family. They all passed away years before. So I did not have my mother, the love, the nurturing, to be there for me. So what started happening, I needed assistance, I needed help, I needed soothing, I needed comfort, I needed love. And because, yes, there were some incredible people, healers, and powerful beings themselves that were around me, supporting me in the first few months. But after that, I was by myself. I only had my beloved dog Patso that was my companion. And I understand now that that process, I only needed to navigate it by myself. I needed to become, the the hero, the heroine of my own alchemy. I needed to be the one to be the co-creator of my own transformation, my own alchemy, because that's what happened. My whole being, my whole sense of self got really loosened up, from my own identity, because of the pain, because of the intensity of the pain. So there was this like opening. There was this like who am I? What does it all mean? What is the purpose? Because the death of my son, it brought me to a place where, like, I felt initially I was disconnected from my body, the shock, the intense shock that I went through, because due to how it happened, because it happened suddenly, the death. And I found him as he was drawing his last breath, and so the pain was so intense, and I was so under shock, that it was kind of like my ego personality, the structure of the ego, what had kept me as my own sense of self, and who Medea was, got a little bit fragmented for a while. And so I did not know. I did not know. It's almost as if I did not know anything anymore, because everything was being chaotic, was being, going through a revolution inside of me, my whole consciousness. And it was scary, and it was like I didn't understand it. Now, looking back, in retrospect, I realized that I needed to go through that, because I needed to create, there needed to be that space inside of me, in my own consciousness, where then, and that's what the grief provided, that's what the death experience provided, that then I could consciously start building myself again. And I did that. I surrendered. I was the one who unearthed from inside of me the qualities, what I needed, to soothe, to comfort myself, to be there for myself. And in that, because I realized that, I needed to do that. I needed to be the comfort that I need, because there was nobody else to do it. It was an instinctual thing, and I did that. So I started to generate, I started to awaken from the depth of my being that was beyond my personality, all these qualities, all this new sense of self, that then became more and more what I call right now my more unique, true evolutionary self. And so when I was being there for myself, I started to praying, I started to, meditate, I started to access, my own true self, to guide me, to support the grieving mother in me. And so so then what happened, I went deeper than the grief. I went into the deepest part of myself, the pristine, the original, the what I call it was the essence, but the pure essence of myself. And then when I start meeting that in me, I start also experiencing that, what I call it, that deep, big love, compassion, and empathy for myself. I really starting to see myself. I was witnessing myself. I was the one who was experiencing the most devastating pain. And at the same time, I was developing this conscious witness in me that was able to support and guide myself. And so this is what happened internally. And then I was using eventually, some of the feminine power, and all the other processes and teachings that I was familiar with to augment what was happening on a more instinctual level in my body, from my own inner wisdom, from my own guidance. And I became the witness of myself, and I was able to go deeper than the grief. And so this sense of love for myself start coming up. And so the consequence was that I start really seeing myself, and what I was seeing, I was really falling in love with. I was really seeing myself. I was seeing all of myself after, a few months of only seeing grief and pain. And I was seeing the beauty in me. And what I call it, I was falling in love with myself. I started to really consciously activate self, and what I call it now, evolutionary self love. And so I hope, that you are going to be uh, checking out this book, and and see how it can inspire you specifically. It is not just about grief for people who have lost a child or a close member of the family, a loved one, but it's for any type of grief, because we experience so many. This was my experience, and so for me to be able to do that in the most devastating form of grief, the loss of a child, which is beyond anything, then it is possible, for it is possible to do it. And this is my gift to, this is my contribution to the world. And also in the book, there are about 36 of my transformative poems, because about 4 years after all of this, I started, because of this, how I navigated the grief, and I started really honoring, really loving, really seeing myself. There was incredible opening that started happening. I call it, it was like a personal renaissance that I was experiencing. And I was connecting with my own higher creativity, and really seeing myself as who I am in the larger context of life, that I am a divine being having a unique experience, um, on this here on earth. And I started writing poetry. I wrote about over 400 poems, and the poems were um, an expression of myself navigating the grief consciously. So, in some of the earlier poems, I talk about the pain that I'm going through, but it was all about, the pain, yes, but what I'm seeing that is starting to come underneath the pain. So they're very inspiring poems. I'm going to read one here. It's called Fusion. At the threshold between heaven and earth, I stand, marveling at the beauty around me, being created in each moment. I hear the mighty, graceful voice of my inner beloved, penetrating my mind, heart, and soul. I am you. You are me. We are together at last. Waves upon waves of blissful, ecstatic vibrations of love, activated, merging, revealed, creative yearning, singular and collective, express template of new life formations, beloved self masterfully giving birth to itself through the unique expression of my embodied form. Deepest soul desires materializing, energy coming into being, life perpetually becoming manifest desires, formless, emerging as form, love impregnating, permeating all, love, infinite majesty, constantly emerging. And then I wrote Queen of Love, because it was kind of like I started thinking, I awakened, I awoke those the queen like qualities inside of me that were the super qualities, the true qualities of my true self. And so I wrote this poem because this was, the inspiration that came to me. So, Queen of Love, heart calling to itself that which it knows, unmistakable image of itself. If you long for love, be love. Your longing is the seed of your gifts eager to be cultivated. Beloved calls for beloved to be united. Soul rises majestically, savoring its own bliss. The garden is in full bloom, absorbing the mysterious light of the moon. Moonlight, a luminescent mantle of desire. The green skin of Mother Earth kisses my feet as I dance my electrifying bliss of loving and becoming. Lover and beloved are forever intertwined. Breath exhales here now. Thank you.